Number 10. The murder of Kathleen West. The body of Kathleen West was found on the sidewalk at 5 o'clock in the morning on January 13, 2018. She was discovered across the street from her very own house, blood flowing from her head, wearing nothing but a sports bra. She had suffered fatal blunt force trauma to her head and was pronounced dead at the scene. As it turns out, Kathleen, an Alabama mother and wife, was leading a double life up until the time of her brutal slaying. The killer was none other than her very own husband, Jeff West. At 8:40 p.m. the night of the killing, a surveillance video captured the couple talking and laughing inside a liquor store. They seemed perfectly happy, but just hours later, something went very wrong. According to prosecutors in the case, Jeff and Kathleen got into a drunken argument over two main things. First, her alleged drinking problem. Second, her obsessive use of social media and her extreme adult life online. It wasn't a secret life so much as it was a fantasy life online. Kathleen knew she was a very attractive woman, especially on Instagram. She was constantly posting pictures in skimpy outfits, and she had Jeff play the role of her photographer. On this night, though, Jeff was sick of it. He was tired of her obsession with being Instagram famous. He was tired of all the drinking. He took her phone and threw it out the door, where it landed in the street. When Kathleen went out to the sidewalk to get it, Jeff followed her outside and bashed her over the head with a liquor bottle. It was just one blow, but it killed her immediately. Jeff was convicted in her killing and charged with reckless manslaughter. It took the jury less than 5 hours to convict him, and in 2021, he was given 16 years in jail. Number 9. The Mexican Spy. Hector Cabrera Fuentes was a prominent Mexican scientist. He was also arrested in 2020 for being a spy. It was when Hector and his wife were returning home to Mexico City that the American authorities arrested them at the Miami International Airport. He was charged with cooperating with Russian agents and plotting to spy on the U.S. government. Prosecutors initially recommended a sentence of 4 years for one charge of operating in the United States on behalf of a foreign government without notifying the Attorney General. It's a weird way to word it, and really just a fancy way to say spy. The story of Hector's failed mission started the year before in 2019. His Russian family, yes, he had a Mexican family and a Russian family, traveled from Germany to Russia for some personal business. When they tried to return to Germany, they couldn't get in. Hector traveled to Russia to see them and then was approached by a mysterious man working for Russia's FSB intelligence agency, their own version of the FBI. This mysterious agent said he could help Hector's wife and her children get out of Russia and return to Germany if Hector did one thing for him. Hector needed to fly to Miami and spy on a U.S. government source. So, Hector did. And he got caught. We don't know who exactly he was supposed to be spying on, as that's been sealed up pretty tight. But we do know Hector was a very successful scientist who had studied in Russia, Germany, and even worked at a medical school in Singapore. He had a family in 2 countries. When he tried to save the Russian family, he went down for spying. Number 8. The disappearance of Paige Bergfeld. Paige Bergfeld went missing from Grand Junction in Colorado in the summer of 2007. She was 34 and twice divorced, a working single mom of 3. She juggled several odd jobs just to support her kids. Little did anyone know, she had been living a double life. She worked 4 or 5 jobs and went to all of her kids' PTA meetings, but she also ran an escort business, which she started in 2005. Paige advertised special massage services on the internet, with some of them costing up to $2,500. Clearly, she was charging for a whole lot more than just a massage. Nobody knew about the secret business until the police started investigating her disappearance. The police eventually learned she had a different cell phone that she used strictly for her escort business. This allowed them to get a hold of the client she had been in contact with on the night of her disappearance. This led officers to a man named Lester Ralph Jones. He had a criminal past that included kidnapping and assaults on women. When the police searched his house and workplace, they discovered a bra, several wigs, and a gas can. It turned out he had gotten angry that Paige refused her escort services to him, and so he killed her, buried her vehicle, and then dumped her body in the woods. Her corpse was found in March of 2012 by a hiker. In 2014, Jones was arrested and charged with murder. His trial didn't begin until July of 2016, 9 years after he had done the deed. Number 7. On and off the track. Olympic track star Susie Favor Hamilton was busted back in 2013 for living a double life. Susie was a mom, a 3-time U.S. Olympic star, and a Las Vegas call girl. You would never think of it by looking at her professional career, but she was getting paid $600 an hour in Las Vegas to do adult things with strange men. She was an Olympian in 1992, 96, and 2000. She has a daughter. She was married, and she started hooking in 2011. She went under the name Kelly Lundy for a Las Vegas escort service who took care of high-end clients visiting the Strip. She had been hoping to keep it a secret, but the secret didn't last long. Photos of her used by the escort service found their way online, and her life unraveled. When asked why she went from being an Olympian to an escort, Susie said it was to help her cope. She was going through a hard time in her life and with her marriage. As an escape, she resorted to living a double life. It helped her escape from reality. Number 6. The True Lives of Charles Lindbergh. Charles Lindbergh is without a doubt one of the most famous American aviators. He reached world fame at the age of 25 by making the first non-stop flight from New York City to Paris on May 20th, 1927. The flight was 33.5 hours, which he completed in a Ryan monoplane called the Spirit of St. Louis. It was the very first non-stop transatlantic flight ever made solo between 2 major cities. But Lindbergh is famous not only for being a great aviator, but also for having several different lives that he juggled at once. In 1957, he fell in love with a hat maker in Munich named Bridget Hesheimer. They began an affair that lasted until his death in 1974, but they kept their relationship a secret, even to their own children. He only visited her 2 or 3 times a year and didn't even give their own children his real name. At the same time, he was involved with yet another secret relationship with Hesheimer's own sister, Marietta. He was also having an affair with a 3rd woman named Valeska, his German translator and personal secretary. He had 2 children with Bridget, 2 with his sister, and 2 with Valeska. Amazingly, all 3 of them kept his secret for decades. It should be noted he also had 6 children with his official wife, Anne Lindbergh. Nobody ever knew about his 4 serious relationships until the summer of 2003, when Bridget's 3 children went public. How do you feel about this American hero, knowing he had 4 long-term relationships with 4 different women and fathered a total of 13 kids? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe before the end of the video. Number 5. The Clever Killer. Lori Eisenberg. Lori Eisenberg tricked her husband into taking too much Benadryl, then killed him and pushed him off a boat on February 13, 2018. She and her husband Larry had taken the early morning boat trip to watch the sunrise, but it was all just a trick so that she could murder him. She told the police that she tried to save him, but then tripped and hit her head on a space heater. Convenient? Then when she regained consciousness, she drove around in the lake looking for Larry before eventually calling the cops. When the police did an autopsy on Larry's body, they found no evidence of drowning. What they found instead was a lethal dose of Benadryl in his system. Lori was arrested the month after and charged with murder. In the investigation that followed, Lori's double life was revealed. She had embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars as the executive director for an organization working with low-income families. The nonprofit found discrepancies in their budget, and Lori was arrested just after her husband's death. She pleaded guilty in 2019 to wire fraud and theft, and she had gotten away with about $500,000 from the nonprofit. She was given 5 years in prison. It was also revealed that she had changed Larry's will in the weeks before his death. The changes meant that her children would get 80% of his estate, and his own kids would only get 20%. Before the incident, she was also trying to sell her home to get more money for her kids. In the end, Lori's marriage of 17 years fell apart over some bizarre scheme to stockpile as much money as she could and give most of it to her children. She was sentenced to life in prison in 2021. When it came down to a motive, she claimed it was all to save her husband the embarrassment of learning about her double life as a thief. Number 4. The sad secret life of a beauty queen. Regina Turner was Miss Connecticut USA in 2011, just before she was divorced by a wealthy New York City spine surgeon. In 2008, Regina was arrested for reckless driving in Connecticut. At the time, she was just 19 years old. She was stopped by 3 cops just before her pageant debut, but the charge never amounted to much. Then in 2014, after she had already been a beauty queen, she was sued by her landlord in Soho for refusing to pay over $10,000 in rent. Regina married the surgeon in 2015, and the marriage lasted until December of 2020 when he filed for divorce. The divorce, according to ex-husband Dr. Hanjo Kim, came about because he discovered her secret double life. He alleged his wife tricked him into getting married by hiding that she was secretly an escort for wealthy, high-profile individuals. The doctor claimed in a court filing that during their marriage, Regina had made at least $700,000 in cash by providing favors for clients. What's truly boggling about this is that Kim makes over $3 million a year as a surgeon, and yet Regina preferred to exchange favors for cash than spend time with her millionaire husband. In the end, it looked like she was really just in it for the money. Number 3. The Secret Fiancée. Melanie Addy was married to James Addy, who was engaged to Molly Watson. Melanie and James were married for 23 years, and he had been seeing Molly for 7 years on the side. On April 27, 2018, police discovered Molly's dead body. James had killed her just 3 days before they were supposed to be married. If things had gone smoothly, James would have had 2 wives, which, by the way, sounds like a lot of work for one man. And maybe he ended up thinking the same thing. Things did not go smoothly for anyone. James was arrested for the murder, and 2 weeks later, Melanie filed for divorce. Then in 2021, he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison plus 10 years. James worked as a corrections officer who got off work at 3 p.m. every day. But according to Melanie, he never returned home until 5 o'clock. Whenever she asked where he went, he would get mad and start a fight. So she just let it be. For 7 years, he was spending those 2 hours with his mistress. What happened at the end is that James got cold feet. He was supposed to get married to his mistress, but opted out at the last minute by putting a bullet through her head. Number 2. Dead end to a double life. Jessica Devnani and Gregory Bender were dating in 2016. Gregory was a successful hedge fund manager living near Orlando. But what Jessica didn't know was that she was part of Gregory's double life. The couple met online in 2009. Even though Jessica was nearly 20 years younger than him, she fell for him immediately. He was charismatic, intelligent, and wealthy. The two stayed together and eventually got engaged. But here's where things went bad for Gregory. When he was recovering from a procedure and in the ICU, Jessica stopped by to surprise him with a visit. When she entered the room, she was surprised to see there was another woman there. It was Demara Sanchez, Gregory's real wife. The surprise was big enough to end Jessica's infatuation with the man. They broke up, much to Gregory's dismay. And that is where the story really starts. After Jessica ended things, she met a new guy in June of 2017 named Patrick. They connected over a dating app, and things started to get serious. Gregory learned about the new relationship through Facebook and started threatening Patrick. Patrick and Jessica had to get a restraining order against the man in December of 2017. Patrick proposed, and the couple were set to be married. It never happened. Jessica arrived at Patrick's home one day to find him dead in a pool of blood. It was pretty obvious Gregory was behind the murder. But what really helped investigators was when his original wife, Demara, came forward with a murder plan she had discovered, in which Gregory wrote down his entire scheme to kill Patrick. He was arrested and put on trial for murder in 2021. And number 1, a secret life of danger. Carol Waugh lived in a luxury apartment in central London worth nearly $1 million. On the outside, her life looked great. She had plenty of jewelry, expensive things, and had made a fortune from a long life of hard work. She worked in foreign lands as an accounts clerk and had done extremely well for herself. Sadly, it was Carol's wealth and her bizarre secret life that led her down a dangerous path to a man named Rakesh Bayani. Rakesh went to Carol's house and stabbed her in the neck on the night of April 17, 2012. He then recruited a homeless man named Nicholas Kuttner to help dispose of the body. They put it in the trunk of a car and ditched it in South London. 4 months later, the body was discovered and police launched an investigation. During the investigation, the police learned Carol's big secret. Yes, she was filthy rich, but she was also lonely. To help with her loneliness, for a bit of excitement in her life, she became an escort. This is what led her to the killer, a skilled con man that destroyed Carol's life for no other reason than to steal her stuff. After the murder, Rakesh sold her jewelry and all her precious belongings. He even tried posing as her brother to sell her apartment. When that failed, he tried renting her apartment out to as many people as would answer his advertisement. He was busted when 2 parties showed up to move into the apartment at the same time and alerted the police. Do you know any other double life stories? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already. And see you soon for another awesome video.